10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris.
We froze already. Aceto.
September 7th, actually, 2020 evening. And Chris, we had a big weekend in bodybuilding. I've waited 6 months to say those words, and it's true. We had the North American Championships, which might have been the biggest amateur show of all times, taking place in Pittsburgh. Who knows how many people they had? They had over 1,500, I think. And then, of course, we had the New York Pro, which wasn't in New York, but it took place in Tampa, and you were actually in attendance. And for those you might be wondering, it's like 12:30 at night, and Chris is very disheveled because he had a very long week.
I'm in Tampa. I got an early morning flight.
Yeah. No, I know. That's what I'm telling people.
Dave, I'm not doing the radio show at midnight when I fly home from Tampa because you can't get to Maine from Tampa directly. You have to take a flight over.
I got to ask you, you homeschool your kids. You keep everything so that they won't go to school. And you somehow, how did you convince your wife to let you go fly out to Tampa for the show?
Well, because I didn't really convince them. See, when me and my family went to Qatar with Kamal,
right?
Hassan and his wife came to visit us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know them. They're like nice, and I mean, he's like shy and quiet, and his wife is like conservative and nice, and they were just like really nice to my wife and my kids. And
so your wife wanted you to be there for them. I got you.
And Hassan speaks not one word of English.
He still doesn't speak English?
Not Dave. When he was in the pose down, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I was screaming for him like, "Tighten your legs."
Yeah, he didn't know what you're talking about.
You know what I was talking about. So he don't speak English. So my wife said, I said, the New York Pro's coming up in Tampa.
Yeah.
I'm going. And she's like, for who? And I said, well, Patrick Moore's doing it, Jason Lowe. She's like, who are those people? Yeah. And I said, she's, she knows him.
Yeah.
So the type of connection. She says, well, go, but you'll just have to get a COVID test when you get back.
Yeah. Your wife might have to quarantine you too for 2 weeks. Chris is like, good. I'll get 2 more weeks of vacation time now. I can hang out in the guest room.
Please. So
yeah. Well,
that's that. Here I am in Tampa, 1:00 in the morning, and bodybuilding's back.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's good. It's all good. Well, you know what? Let's do our official RxMuscle Tampa Pro. Well, it's not Tampa Pro. It's New York Pro in Tampa. Official breakdown of what happened. Iain Valliere coming home with the victory after the tough loss a couple weeks ago in the real Tampa Pro show. Iain comes back here. He does win, but he still looks miserable. I don't know what his problem was. Why is he so uncomfortable? I interviewed him after the last show, and he says, I get stressed out at these shows. It's a lot of anxiety for me. I said, it doesn't seem to me like you enjoying the process. He's like, well, I love bodybuilding, but I really don't enjoy the whole competing process. I get very nervous and worked up. It seemed like he was a little stressed out here as well. He wasn't smiling as much. He did look better, I thought, than he did in Tampa. Give me your assessment of Iain from Tampa compared to actually the New York Pro now. Was he better, and did he deserve the win?
Blase win.
What does that mean? Explain.
Nothing that leaves a big impression about that win. Meaning, you can post up that back shot. People say that it's like morphed to something, or Instagram. There's, he's not peeled. He's the winner. So you know, you
Was
could say
was he the
winner
best
from-
man there? That's what people want to know.
Do I think he's the best man there? No.
Okay, so you don't think he deserved to win. What was better about him from Tampa to New York, and what in your mind was still not good enough?
His tan was better.
Not that much better though.
I mean,
I still think I still think his tan could have been better, don't you?
come on. I mean, it shows it's bodybuilding, so it's. I mean, is this like top-notch conditioning?
Well, I mean, he looks good to me. He just doesn't look. You can even look at his face. He looks like I want to go home. That's the look. He doesn't have that beaming smile that most of these guys have. After when they're competing to win a show. I mean, I think of Sergio Oliva Jr. with that. I'm so happy to be here. Smile every time he's up on stage. That's what I'm used to seeing from bodybuilders.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is when you boil it all down, he like wide with a good front lat spread, and I'm at a loss for I would say I'll ask you, is he peeled here? So let's just play devil's advocate. Is he very hard?
All right, this is the back shot you're talking about.
Oh, let's soft from behind.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not. His glutes and hamstrings were not as peeled as, and they probably are a little harder than. He's not really hitting them completely here, but you can tell he's not crisp here.
Well, the back detail.
Yeah. Let's pull up some comparison shots because I think that might work better for us, and we can look at what the lineup looked like, in that first call out.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit when you first saw them all come out together and they called that first, that top 7 group out. Give me your assessment of them.
Apples and oranges. Too many called out at once for me, but I'm smart enough to figure out, the apples from the oranges.
You sound like Sean Ray with all the fruit analogies you're giving.
No, I don't like. It's 1 in the morning. I don't want to listen to. Ray still involved in bodybuilding.
Okay, here's your first. Here's your first front
Charles,
double bicep right there. Can you see that, Chris?
Nope, I can't see it. Just tell me who it is. I know exactly what these guys look like. I watched the show in detail.
Okay, this is the first to call out the front double bicep. It's Iain Valliere.
Antoine shouldn't have been first call out for sure.
Right. Yeah, I was not that impressed with Antoine. When I look at his Instagram stuff.
Well, he's got to decide if he's going to be an Instagram bodybuilder or a real bodybuilder.
What does that mean? Explain that.
Because people look, I say it all the time, and people I think I'm kidding, is people post up pictures and they look like Dorian, and they don't look like that in real life. So, I don't understand why they do it. He has.
How do they do that though? I don't understand how they did that.
Dude, it's the same. It's like makeup check. Right? Someone can throw on makeup and like lighting and you get a gorgeous girl and then you go see her and she's not gorgeous.
Yeah. So that's Antoine from
that looks nothing like Instagram. Pull up an Instagram photo of front bicep. See which guy wins.
Let's do it.
I'm dead serious.
Do you think that he just maybe over depleted for this show? Because he looks really good on Instagram. Like you say.
That's the point. So who doesn't?
Or maybe he just has one of those illusionary bodies.
An illusion.
No, he just. All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you Antoine here.
I would love.
There's Antoine in his Instagram, but look how high that's hydrated and that's all filled up.
Let's see which one he looks better on. Yeah, that's not the real Antoine right there.
Well, that's the Antoine we see in Instagram, but I mean, maybe is it possible that he did over deplete here and he did suck out too much, and maybe he sacrificed some size and some fullness?
Could be. I mean, could be. That's a real possibility. I mean, it's either one of the two. He either sacrificed, he flattened out, or he just doesn't look like those Instagram photos in the first place.
Yeah. Well, he finished his seventh here. He was seventh place. And, this is still, he had torn his bicep. He missed all of 2019 season, essentially. He hasn't competed since Toronto in 18. So, I mean, this is, I guess, a good comeback for him. I mean, I think he was just over depleted here, to be honest with you. His conditioning looked good to me. Yeah. He didn't look like he belonged in the first call out to me because it was a tough first call out.
He did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's
in the first call out.
Yeah, let's go back to that comparison. We kind of like diverted a little bit here, but
okay, we can divert. It's your show.
All right. Yeah. Front double is obviously Antoine, Dwayne Walker, Jon Delarosa, Hassan Mostafa. I'm going from the left. Iain Valliere.
Dave, you got the wrong people in there. There's no Walker in there.
Oh, excuse me. Maxx Charles. I'm sorry. I'm thank you. It is late at night. My mistake. So it's Antoine Valliere, Maxx Charles, Jon Delarosa, Hassan Mostafa, Iain Valliere, and who's that?
Patrick Moore.
Oh, Patrick Moore, and then
Justin
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
All right. So you see this first call out. Was this a good top 7 that they called out? Were you happy with this group?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good, it was a good top 7 minus Antoine, who I don't think really did.
Right. Who would you have put in there instead?
I think they don't need to call 7. I think you can call, 6 and figure it out from 6. I just didn't think one, was any threat to, in any way to the other 6. You know what I mean? He was not beating them, holding his space with them on any poses.
Right. Now, when you first saw this, Hassan was in the middle. Did you think that this was the way it was going to stay?
Yeah, I thought it would be a done deal from I thought it was a done deal for when he came out by himself. So,
and people were going crazy on the live cast.
Yeah, I mean, they were going crazy because he looked crazy.
And when they moved him off the middle, was that
was a bad call.
Confusing to you?
It was a bad call. Yeah, it wasn't confusing to me. I wasn't confused. It's called a bad call.
Right. Okay. I'm just asking your opinion. Obviously, this is just your opinion.
Yeah.
I know Milos was there too. What did Milos think? I know Milos was in attendance. He helped Maxx Charles. What was Milos? Was Milos going crazy?
No, I mean, I think Milos thought. See, the problem with it is apples and oranges. Like, everyone there has some type of strengths. Max has got tremendous density and muscularity in certain shots. Overwhelming, crazy, most muscular. Overwhelming, crazy, hands on hips, most muscular. Crazy abs. Side chest is borderline crazy. But he's got gaps, of course, which is his back. But standing from the front, he looks, really good. Also in that lineup was Delarosa, too soft.
A lot of people thought Delarosa might have gotten the nod, on this one.
Which lot of people?
No, I'm just saying that the speculation. It looked like the judges or whoever, Tyler. I know Tyler Magnan was the head judge. He had these guys positioned as 1 and 2 after prejudging, right? I mean, the way it was set up.
Yeah, that's how it was positioned. Yeah.
Was that an unpopular decision from where you were sitting with all the people?
I think I'll tell you the prejudging, the 2 people who got the most response from the crowd, because you're asking about, was that a popular decision? So you're asking, like, what was the crowd response?
Right.
The 2 people who got the biggest, like, wow, was Hassan and Justin. unequivocally. Those two people that people like sit up and say, wow, you know, and then when they go through their mandatories, you say, wow, you know, and nobody else. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody else, but those were the two, you know.
Yep. Well, here we're looking right now at the top 4. This was the final call out of prejudging. It was Patrick Moore, Jon Delarosa, Iain Valliere, and Justin Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So obviously, they were positioning these 4 as your top 4.
Yeah.
Hassan was not in there. Okay.
At that point, yeah, no, wasn't close.
Now, I know a lot of people were not happy about this because a lot of people felt Hassan deserved to be up there. What was your thinking? Did you think that they would make a change? In your estimation, did Hassan look different at the prejudging from the night show? And that much different?
Not one bit, no.
Okay. So he should have been up there right from the beginning, is what you're saying. Which seemed like it was verified at the night show.
Dave, just ask yourself this, because if you want to dissect it, okay, this picture you're looking at is the reality of this picture is that leaving prejudge and probably Delarosa, because he's next to Iain Valliere, are in the middle, and they're battling out for which place, Dave?
First and second.
First and second. Tell me where Delarosa beats Hassan Mostafa on what shots?
Well, I don't know. You were there. You tell me.
Well, you just go by pictures and you tell me. I send you a video. I mean,
well, I thought Hassan looked insane. You know, I think
I know
with the feathered quads and
I know the answer because I was there, and it's a rhetorical question. And the second follow up to that, where does Iain Valliere really beat? On what compound of bodybuilding? On what aspect is he beating Hassan in?
I think the only thing that Iain is better at is probably just his width and his structure in terms of size. Would you go along with that? He's wider.
Yeah, he's wider.
And I think sometimes judges can get bamboozled by that initially. Usually they work through that, though.
Yeah, let me clarify. It's not a width contest.
Well, it is to a certain degree. Come on.
Okay, you could argue that because he's wide, he doesn't even have enough muscle, and does not have enough muscle because he is wide.
Yeah,
he looks lanky on stage.
Yeah.
So you want the actual play-by-play breakdown.
Iain has the same issue that Wolf had, don't you think? In a sense, with figuring out fullness versus conditioning.
Yeah, but Wolf could get peeled sometimes.
Well, I mean, Wolf competed a lot longer than Iain. I'm just saying Iain seems to be suffering that same dilemma of what do I do? Do I come in full and not as hard? Do I come in ripped and full?
No,
it's like a.
You're right. For a tall guy with a lot of width, which he has, it is hard to. You always play that. You always struggle with that because you try to fill that frame out, and he has a big frame, and you try to fill it out, and you're not tight enough, and then you try to say, shit, people said I wasn't tight enough, and then you try to burn it down, and then you get tight, really sharp, and you say, oh, you're not big enough.
Right. I mean, that's an impressive shot. The side tricep shot I'm putting up.
Which one?
He's got I don't know. Usually you can see these pictures. I don't know why you can't see them, but this is I have a side tricep of Iain Valliere up on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's very impressive in that shot.
Yeah, he looks good in side tries. He looks
so
good.
There's obviously, look, the guy's got some serious talent. What did he miss the mark on at this show? Was it conditioning, fullness? You tell me, if you were his coach, what did he do wrong?
Both. He was a little flat and a little watery.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you get that disaster back shot. I mean, you can have that says it all. Nothing's popping and nothing's pulling.
Is that, in your estimation, nerves, anxiety, or is that just he didn't do his homework?
No, it could be. It actually could be nerves because, I mean, you can be pretty damn full and hard. And if you suffer from anxiety and you worry about what you're going to look like at a prejudging, it's called being washed out when you, and that just means you're neither full looking or hard looking.
Right.
And then you eat a pizza like that night, you wake up with no stress the next day and have 2 beers and you like peeled. Right.
And is that what you think is going on here? I mean, because you're right. He looks like he's flat and he's just, this is a lack of sharpness there. And he looks very unhappy in his face. And like I said, Iain's like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He loves bodybuilding. The guy will talk bodybuilding all day long, but he just doesn't seem to enjoy the competitive process.
Yeah.
And it seems to cause him a lot of stress and anxiety, even by his own admission. That's not me making this up. He told me this on an interview. So that, that's a problem that some guys suffer with their whole career. You know that.
Oh yeah.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah. So I mean, the packs be full of the air. The delts could, he's got the brain syndrome. It's like it's a curse. You know what I mean? Because you do look good in the lineup, right? I mean, he does. Right. You can't say good in the lineup. He's got wide shoulders. His hips are narrowish. He's got big shoulders. For a big guy, he's got full enough legs, but the knock is always going to be you're not full enough, you're not big enough.
Right. Let's talk about second place Justin Rodriguez, who was another guy who was not in the second position or first position after prejudging, and a lot of people were talking that
I don't.
You know what?
Fabulous.
Yeah, a lot of people thought at least the live stream people that were watching thought, hey, here's the winner. And he wasn't in first or second position after prejudging. And then all of a sudden, at the night show, we see Justin winning or not winning, but, getting a first place vote, but placing second.
Yeah. Justin made massive improvements.
He actually was 1 point, Chris, off of winning at the night show. He was 1 point behind Iain.
I had him second in prejudging and probably first or second at the night show.
Now he looks like a Victor Martinez here, doesn't he? He's starting to get that. He even hit some of the same Victor twisting poses, in that front double by.
Yeah, I mean he's got a small waist. He's extremely wide. He's got a great glute appeal. He had the best condition toe, or him had like best condition head to toe. Yeah. Probably him in the show. So that alone, okay, right? When you talk about bodybuilding shows, you talk about either muscle, or you talk about condition, or you talk about incredible flow with condition that needs more size. He had a prerequisite to win the show, which was the condition and his size. Right.
Were his legs a little behind the upper body, in your estimation?
They always are. They always are. But you know what? Look at the lineup he's in. You got people that condition right there is just smoking a lot of people in the top first call out. Put Andy back double against that, and people say, "Oh, it shows the one from the back."
Right. No, you're right.
I was very impressed with him because I thought when Hassan came out, I thought, okay, Hassan is tight enough to win it. He's not peeled, but he's got that Kai Green, tons of muscle. When you flex it, things go crazy.
Yeah.
And when Justin came out, I said, I guess what they're going to contrast here is true conditioning with size against mammoth size and not fake conditioning, but, inferior conditioning Hassan compared to, let's say, Justin.
All right. Before we get to Hassan, let's talk about Jon Delarosa, who some people thought he was winning after prejudging, or at least he was in second place. He's got a very balanced physique. When I did my assessment of the New York Pro, a couple days ago before the show, I said, here's a guy who's won probably more pro shows than anyone in the lineup. He's got really no flaws to his physique in the sense that he's not missing any body parts. He doesn't have any spectacular body, but everything flows well. when he's in shape, he's dangerous because he wins shows because he's so balanced. What was your assessment of on a 1 to 10 scale of all the Jon Delarosas we've seen from 1 to 10, 10 being the best? Which Jon Delarosa did we see here?
6.54. 6.5.
Okay, so you're saying this is not even anywhere near his best.
No, it's not tight enough.
Okay. And when you say tight enough, I mean, is he flat here or is he just not conditioned enough?
His body fat's too high.
Okay. He doesn't look like he's holding that much fat to me, but he's got a deceptive physique because he holds on to his weight really well, I find.
Yeah,
what would you have?
What's that?
I mean, he's got glutes here. I mean, in the
He's got
pictures.
He don't have the right glute. He's got the left glute.
You're right. You're right. No, you're right. That's why I'm laughing. You're right. I'm going to show the picture right now. People are going to laugh.
I have two bodybuilders who I helped. They're like, and they're both from Chicago, and they said, I can't get my right glute. My right glute for some reason doesn't stride. I said, no, that's because your right glute has fat on
it. So you could have one glute having fat and one doesn't. Okay.
This picture's a good. I mean, I know the lighting's not the best, but there's not a lot of back detail there. John's had more back detail than that.
Yeah, is that because he's flat or is it because he's not lean? I don't see any fat on his body really that much. It just seems like he's like very like nothing's popping though. Like normal.
Yeah, maybe it didn't. I mean, yeah. He was flat in the show, and I mean he was not tight enough, and I think that probably was from being flat in the show.
I think so too. I don't think he really, because you know what, you can tell when John's not in shape because his face is like he's got the big round face, but he's pretty lean. His face here, at least from what I'm looking at. Right? I mean, let's look at his face here. His face is pretty lean, So, all right, well, look, that's good news for John anyway, because at least he knows he can correct us. Now, you think we'll see John next week in California?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No.
What do you think he's going to? What you think he'll do? Chicago, which is really in Atlanta this year.
Yeah, I mean, he might do. I don't know. It's just total guessing, but he probably thought prejudging he was going to be first, and he didn't end up in second, so that
right
bounced back times.
You always have to have those contingency plans, because these guys all want to go to the Olympia.
Yeah, it's one.
I'm surprised, Chris, they didn't make a top 3 goes to the Olympia. Especially since they have this, the Spain show coming up. They're going to give top 3 Olympia qualifications. Yeah. Really, all 3 of these guys should have, gotten, invites. I think,
Are they going to do anything?
I don't know. Funny, but you got to have people in the lineup, though, Chris. There's no guys doing the Olympia. There's no qualified. I mean, there are qualified people, but there's, you got to get some more people into the lineup. All right, let's talk about Hassan Mostafa. Obviously, we know you worked with him, so of course you're biased. But at the same time, let's talk about the merits of his physique and the what you would like to see improved.
Are you talking over me that much, or is my microphone working?
Well, I hear you, but I'm trying to give you maybe you're not hearing me. I'm trying to just give the assessment of what the situation is, and then you can answer my questions. What was great about Hassan? What could have been better?
Great about him was the biggest guy in the lineup by a lot. Great about him was by far the best side tricep, probably the best side chest, probably the best back double after or maybe Justin's. Most musculars just knock your socks off, cross-striated quads, not quite lean enough.
Okay, so you feel that he could have been tighter. Okay, that's honest.
Yeah.
Let's look at that side chest for a minute. Hold on. It's good side chest. Not many guys know how to hit a side chest like that.
Full pecs, big arms, decent enough, hamstrings from the side.
Was he better than because we always compare him to Paul DeMeo, because he looks a little like him. Was he better than Paul DeMeo, you think?
Do you think Paul looked like that video I sent you?
No. Paul was a freak, though.
Yeah, but this guy's different level.
Okay.
This guy's a real deal.
Do you think that the judges look? He definitely moved. He moved up at night. I mean, in the finals. He wasn't in the top 4 at the end of prejudging, and now he finishes in 4th here. So the judges definitely rewarded something that maybe they missed at the prejudging. Do you think that he could have, that the reason maybe he didn't win the show was because he wasn't at his best, by your own admission?
This is his best by far.
It's his best by far, but we know that he can be tighter than this. You know he can be tighter than this. Okay, even though I know what you're saying. You're saying you think he's, you know how this works. Conditioning wins shows. So if he's not 100% conditioned, maybe the judges don't want to reward something that they feel is not perfect yet. We've seen it with other very good competitors that they've held them to a higher standard and didn't let them win shows. Flex Wheeler was a guy that they made really bring his best to that USA before they ever gave him that victory.
Yeah, you know what? Outside of Justin, I mean, he's harder than Iain, and he's harder than Delarosa by a lot. By a lot. If you're not sure, keep flowing through the pictures.
Oh yeah, I'm going to give you a back double bicep in a second.
Is he peeled like Jason Lowe out of his mind? No. Is he hard enough for the monumental amount of size that he has? Absolutely yes. It's called a bodybuilding contest.
But
so
you know,
bodybuilding, you reward, in bodybuilding, you reward people who are, either gigantic or like whacked out condition.
I think this was I think after prejudging, it was a travesty that he was not in the top 4. I'll give you that. I think that the reason he didn't win the show is because he wasn't his best. And I mean, you even said Justin Rodriguez, in your estimation, was probably better, right? Because of his condition.
Condition. No.
Right.
Justin Rodriguez had the best condition.
Right.
So,
but you and I know conditioning wins shows. I mean, we see it all the time. It's not a surprise.
How's that back? How's that back in condition compared to Iain's?
I can't explain Iain. Do you think that Iain got a gift? Is that what you're saying? Because of the second place behind Hunter in Tampa 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
I would not have him first place. So, I think from a purist bodybuilding standpoint, in terms of muscles, blah 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 blah, size, condition, shape, flow, I thought it would go down to the wire, to Hassan and Justin. Mm-hmm. And I would not be surprised, because Justin was, very, very conditioned, that the, people on the panel who were making the real decisions, not just throwing out opinions like me, who would say like, I love the condition, and go with Justin.
Right. Yeah. There's Hassan's most muscular shot right there.
If they'll go with Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't think
Dave, does Delarosa or Iain, yes or no, look like that?
No, they have different physiques. Look, I think that this is my assessment. Look, I'll give you my assessment. I'll give you my assessment. My assessment, and I wasn't there, was that I think of anyone in the top 5, I think Hassan Mostafa has got the most, well, I shouldn't say it, has got some of the best potential of anyone in that lineup to go to the Olympia and be an Olympia contender, okay? Because he's got the muscle size, he's got the crazy, separation in the muscle, he's got the flow to his body, he doesn't have any gaps, he really has no weaknesses. But I think that, this is my belief, that they're holding him to a higher standard because of that, because they feel that he could have been leaner. And if he brings that level of leanness to the next show, I think, what do you say, he's going to do California next week? Is that the goal? I mean, if he comes in, a couple pounds lighter, I mean, he should blow the lineup away, don't you think? I'm sure you're going to torture him. I'm sure you're going to torture him for a week, right?
Yeah, best I can.
Well, you're going to put him, I'm sure you're going to do cardio him and low carb him and everything like that. And I'm sure That's what they want to see. They want to see tight, right?
Yeah, I'm just playing like, I'm just trying to be explicit about the idea. Like when you look at that on shot and look at the pec striations and the cross striations and the quads, I'm saying, okay, where's Delarosa's? You can't say they have different physiques because one, Hassan's twice the size of Delarosa and he's twice the size of Iain. So if those guys don't even have the detail that he has, explain to me, other than, oh, they want to see him like peeled like Phil Heath just to get to the Olympia?
Well, they know there's another show next week. They know we're going to see him again. If he comes in better next week and he destroys everyone, he'll be the talk of the town. He'll be the guy that everyone's talking about going into the Olympia. Is the guy that, you know, who can really mess with the top 5. Someone that we were waiting to show up and shock everyone, right? I mean, that adds another level of excitement as far as I'm concerned. You know, that's how I think they're seeing it. You know, so we'll see what happens. Let's talk about Maxx Charles, okay? Because Max brought a really good look to the stage. I know he's working with Milos now, and I know Milos was very adamant about the fact that he felt he should have been higher. What was Milos saying? Did Milos think Max should have won?
I think he thought he should have been. I don't know if he thought he should have won, but he was really upset that at the placing that he got. You know, I mean, Max has got a most muscular and a side chest and an ab shot and hands on hips most muscular. That's beyond fabulous. Super dense, super striated. Of course, the knock against him is leg separation, hamstring detail, back detail. So you have to weigh, if you're judging, what are Max's weaknesses versus Delarosa's weaknesses versus you know, someone else's weaknesses, because everyone has weakness in this lineup.
He has Max from behind
in any lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Max is certainly not harder than anyone from behind here. I mean, in terms of like, I wouldn't say
he's as tight as Valliere. Put up Iain's back double.
Yeah, I think they're all, you know, you can say Valliere, Max, you can say Hassan. They're all pretty. No one really was like dry crisp except for the Justin Rodriguez, right?
True, absolutely, 100%.
So everyone was, and I think that's where and I understand where your frustration is. Your frustration is like, well, no one was really that hard. So why is Hassan being held to a higher standard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you're not going up against, you know, Hadi Chopin.
Right. Now, and also, if by my theory, if conditioning win shows, you're saying, well, then why didn't Justin Rodriguez win this show? Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point is like, I can always just, you know, period. I agree with that. If condition and win shows, you know. Then
Justin should have won. Justin should have won. Right.
Unless you're too small. And Justin had added a lot of muscle. So you could make the argument that he's big enough, and you can clearly make the argument that he's, you know, peeled enough in the realm that condition win shows that he was the winner of the show.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
I was very impressed.
Yeah. No, he was impressive. Let's talk about Patrick Moore, who was in the top 4 after prejudging. A lot of people said, oh, this guy's top 4. And then he winds up out of the top 5 after prejudging. What happens with him? Let's pull up a picture of him. Obviously, you work with him as well, so it's tough. You know, it's like your competitors swapped places. You know, almost after prejudging.
Yeah.
What's the greatness and what's the not so greatness about Patrick Moore in this show?
Super conditioned head to toe.
Yeah.
Super conditioned, just needs more muscle. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And now, you know, the weird, if you look at comparison shots with him and people, you know, your eye goes right to him in terms of flow, shape, condition in many cases. if you pull up a comparison like a side tricep or side chest, he's got lots of bells and whistles. He's got the hamstring from the side, the glutes and the hams, crazy abs, pec striations.
He's got glutes.
But yeah, real glutes, not just
So you're saying more, and I agree with you. I think he just needs more size. Was it a mistake? To after the Arnold, we said the same thing. We said Patrick needs more size. Was it a mistake for him to compete again, or is he get that kind of physique that it doesn't matter? He grows into his shows.
Because he's not pushing the envelope. He can grow. The irony is that he can grow. You know what I mean?
So what is he going to do now? Is he shutting it down for the rest of the year, Chris?
Cal next week, and then after Cal, he'll probably take the year off.
Okay.
He's never really ever had is when he went from the first New York Pro he did, where he got 13th, so he jumped to winning the Cal Pro the next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Who in this lineup do you feel that was not what?
In terms of condition, him and Justin Rodriguez were the two who were, quote, the most conditioned. There weren't any lacking body parts. There were, in terms of condition. Some people have like, they peeled from the front and soft from behind, or ripped from behind, a little soft from front. They were in tremendous shape, those two.
When you look at this, right? When you look at the show as a whole, how would you rate it on a 1 to 10?
I mean, it's a good show. Just because I'm critical of the people in the show, doesn't mean it wasn't a great show. I mean, the ups, Iain Valliere is still a very good bodybuilder. Jon Delarosa is a very good bodybuilder. Maxx Charles is a very good bodybuilder. And the list after people who didn't make top 6 is people outside there who are either good bodybuilders or potentially really good bodybuilders. So, I mean, it was a competitive. It was more competitive than 2 weeks ago in Tampa, or 5 weeks ago, whenever the time was. There's more depth.
Yeah, I want to bring up one more name, Phil Klahar, who I work with. Was 4th in Tampa a couple weeks ago. Brought in, I thought, what was a much better look here in New York, to the New York Pro, and he winds up in 10th. He was actually looked like he was lower than that after prejudging, and he moved up. But let's pull his picture up. Was he overlooked?
Yeah, he was overlooked, Dave. He was overlooked. He's big and he's hard, and he's legit hard. He's not like, he was in very good shape. Let me see if that picture justifies it. Yeah, it does justify it. Look at the shoulders, arms, pecs, and abs on that.
Yeah,
he's that's how he looked like. He was very impressive.
Yeah, I was very surprised, and I know he was very upset with the way he placed, and I talked to him there. I'm a great guy to give someone like a consolation speech, and tell them don't get too upset about it and come back better, because I've experienced a lot of poor placings in my time that maybe I didn't deserve. Some I probably did, but some I didn't, and so I know how to take it on the chin. And that's what bodybuilding is all about, right? I mean, sometimes you do great and it comes out and you're happy with the placing, and sometimes it just doesn't. Somehow you get missed. I don't know, in the lineup. I don't know why. Maybe he wasn't known. I don't know, not that much of a household name. It happens though. It really happens.
He's very. This is his all-time best, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was too. He worked really hard. I mean, really hard. And he's another guy who it's very hard to get that balance between fullness and conditioning with him. And I really thought we nailed it pretty well here. So he's gonna come back better and better. He's gonna keep improving, and we'll see him again, I think, in Chicago, which is really in Atlanta, for that show. And hopefully, maybe he'll get some more love at that show. But I sometimes when you get overlooked, you get more attention, brought to you than when you weren't. And so then the judges are ready to see you. Then the next time they see you, they're like, oh, that's the guy that we overlooked. Let's take a better look at him. And a lot of times those guys will move up and actually become future, names, in the lineups. So,
yeah.
It
old is
happens. I think he's like early, like maybe 40 or something like that, or
Yeah.
late
I didn't
late
think he was a
30s.
spring chicken.
Yeah, he's not like in his 20s or anything like that, but he's you can't tell because he's got that ageless face, you know. He's got that one wrinkle on his face, you know.
He should continue to compete in all the shows for the rest of the year if there are shows.
Yeah, he's going to definitely do Chicago. So I know that's. I don't know if I don't think California's on the table, but definitely Chicago is. It's expensive to go to these shows too, Chris. You know, it's not like
I spent
it's
$200 to watch prejudging finals from the back.
You did?
$100.
Really? What? Should I didn't even know you were going.
Yep.
Should have told me. You would have had a
Yep.
press pass.
General admission.
Let's talk about the 212. Were you impressed with Bo Lewis, who won?
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, thick. Really, really good side chest. Really good side tricep. I think he was tighter. He was better 5 weeks ago when George Peterson beat him.
Right.
And to some degree he could have walked away in second place here too. I mean, Jason Lowe came in just inside out, upside down, chiseled and hardcore.
What makes Bo Lewis's physique impressive to you? Like, obviously the judges liked what they saw.
Super appealing looking side tricep and side chest. He just looks really round, 12 guy on those two shots. His back double is pretty darn complete. I think it looked more complete because it might have been a little bit leaner 5 weeks ago when he looked tremendous also when he was second to George Peterson. He doesn't really have weaknesses. He can stand with the vacuum in the lineup, which is impressive. His most muscular, his arms look gargantuan. He's got real dense looking muscle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got, he's in condition.
Right. He was impressive. I was very impressed with him.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to get better and better. And he's like a workhorse. That guy. I call the workhorse guys that just just keep plugging away. I mean, and he's still there. Let's talk about your guy, Jason Lowe, moving up from classic, which is not an easy thing to do, to the 212 division. Something that we heard a lot of George Peterson. We heard about Keon Pearson doing it. Jason Lowe is like always on the quiet. We don't really hear much about him, and then he shows up at a show and he impresses the hell out of people. Talk to me about the decision to move.
The decision was to move was made probably think 2 or 3 years ago. I think when he did the Arnold. And I remember him coming into my hotel room and he was doing classic, Dave, right?
Right.
And in those days, you covered the glutes.
Right.
And glutes and hams are nuts. And I said, oh, that's too bad. And then, he's doing classic, but I had him hitting all the, hit him most muscular. I said, they don't ask him most muscular. I said, well, hit it anyway. Like Bob Gar, hit it anyway.
Yeah.
I'd say, hit a side tricep. They don't ask for side tricep. I know, but I want to. So, that set the
look at that wacky shot.
He wanted to give.
How would that have done in the Open? He would have won the Open in that if conditioning wise on that one.
Yeah, that looks like Ann's decal. Put that up next to Ann's back.
Crazy. Jason Lowe's one of these guys that you don't think he has the genetics to do it, and then as he's gotten bigger, his physique has gotten better. I think sometimes guys think that classic is the way to go because as long as you can make the weight, but sometimes people just look better, bigger,
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He looks better, bigger.
He was inspired by, and so the classic journey for him, Dave, the interesting story, the back half of that is he came to the Arnold one time, and he was doing the Arnold Classic and the Classic division,
Yeah.
and he was just chiseled. And he was in my hotel room, and he was so chiseled to make the weight like this, you know.
Yeah.
And Rafael Brandao was there, and Luke Sandow was there, and I was there, and we were watching him pose, and he was putting on. We were just mesmerized by the detail.
Yeah.
And Luke said like something funny, like, you know, screw that class. You know, he encouraged him to do to do the.
Oh, he did.
212s.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so I guess they became. I don't know if they became really tight, but I know they became very friendly. And it was Luke who drove him, you know, at the end to abandon Classic and say, you know, you're an open guy. Because if you look at his Instagram, it's IFBB_Broku. I told Jason, I watch all your workouts. I mean, I don't watch all of them, but they're like, here I am dieting. I'm doing 140 dumbbells. You know, he's very strong. He's very hardcore. Yeah. That's a strong looking physique right there.
You can tell he trains heavy. Yeah, he's got a rugged physique for sure. Now, congratulations to him. I think I'd love to see him on an Olympia stage against those guys. I think he can really hold his own against them. Let's talk about classic physique though, because we had another jump. Logan Franklin, who was a men's physique guy for years, made the jump to classic, and he won. You know, and he always sends me pictures, and I've been watching his progress, and I'm like, this guy looks really good. It took him a good 2 years to really grow into this class, and I know he told me he was going to make the jump, and this was going to be the big year. Obviously, it got delayed a little bit because of the whole COVID thing, but I mean, he really is. I mean, this is the first men's physique guy that I really saw be able to make that jump, and not only just jump, but make a successful jump.
Yeah, no, he looks good. He's like, the minute I saw him on stage, I said, oh, he's like the Chris Bumstead B version. You know what I mean? His legs aren't quite as good as Bumstead. His detail's not as good, but structurally they're similar, right?
Well, he's improving. It's like he's making his improvements as, you know, in front of our eyes, because he's a perfect example of like a guy who is a young guy who didn't have the muscle to be a bodybuilder yet. So he went into men's physique, and then and then when the classic came out, he wasn't really yet ready for that, but then he grew into that. Now he's a classic guy. I fully expect possibly to see him as an open bodybuilder at some point. He's very driven in that sense. He might not just stay here. Look at that shot
first, right?
Look at that Arnold shot.
Yeah, let me see.
It's a great shot.
That 3/4 back. Yeah, he looks good.
Look at the glutes.
He's good. He looks fresh.
Right? Fresh muscle.
You have to be in classic. If you're already burnt out on stuff, but in classic, then you're doomed.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, look, I mean, that's a great. I mean, he knows how to position his body. He looks like a seasoned guy who's been bodybuilding his whole life, you know, and you don't see that often. So I think, you know, look, I like when I see guys that are going to add fresh, I guess you could say, blood to the divisions, the new divisions, you know. And so I'm excited to see him on stage. How does he do against Breon Ansley and Chris Bumstead and those guys? I mean, can he hold his own, you think?
You know, I think not quite yet. You know what I mean? There's something in terms of, you know, to me, he looks okay, Dave. He looks like a very good classic bodybuilder, which he is.
Yeah.
And Bumstead could pass as a regular bodybuilder, so that's where
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. He's at another level. Yeah, he's at another level.
Same thing with Brianna. You know, Brianna could pass as a regular 12 guy, and that goes for same thing with George Peterson when he was in the classic.
Right.
You know, I mean, I always said on this show, like, well, he's not really classic at all.
Yeah.
You know, he's a bodybuilder. So I think Logan has like traditional, like, golden age classic lines, but if he had to stand between Bumstead and Brianna, I think their muscle maturity and their actual density would,
Sure.
you know, expose what he doesn't have yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you watched the whole. Did you watch the whole show?
Yeah. I watched the 212 and the men's. I
See the
didn't do
figure girls?
bikini. Of course not.
Come on, Chris. Nicole Graham. I got to pull her picture up. I'm really, really impressed with her. Since you probably didn't see her on stage, you'll see her here. How good is she? These figure girls just keep getting better and better and better. What a great look to her. I think she's going to be super dangerous at the Olympia this year. She's like another Candace Lewis.
Yep.
Crazy physique. I don't know. What's on it? I can't see anything either. Yeah, I think it's just the suit. I actually see it. She's actually hitting poses here. Did you see this? I'm looking. I thought she was a women's physique competitor at first because she's got such a great physique. Look at this. I'm looking at the pictures on NPC News Online. Look at this shot with the heels on, Chris. She can do women's physique here, right? If she wanted to. How funny is that?
Yeah, she's got the look. Right?
She can definitely do crossover if she wanted to at some point. She obviously doesn't have. Yeah. I like when people have fun with it. That was great. So she won figure. The reigning Miss Olympia, Attila Santiago. She won the bikini. Pull up a picture of her. Give her a little love. It's always cool when you see it like a Miss Olympia or Mr. Olympia like competitor in like a New York Pro show, like a regular show, isn't it? It's great for the fans. You know, the fans actually. Sometimes it sucks that these fans only get to see these Olympia champs at the whatchamacallit, the Olympia. Now they can. She actually comes in and does New York Pro. She has no reason to have to do that, except obviously using it as a warm up, and that's great. You know, I'm glad that they some people are not afraid to put it on the line.
I ran into Linda Murray there.
I heard she was there. Yeah. What is she? Did you talk to her?
Yeah, I said, Linda, you know what? You're one of the only persons. I said, you're the most, when people see you, you were one of you must get all the time the same question, which you might find offensive, is like, either how old are you now? Because she looks so good for her age, whatever that is.
She's got to be close to 60, right?
Or she's 58. 58.
I know. I knew she was close to 60. I knew it. She's amazing. She doesn't age. She's like Linda Wood Hoyt. Remember Linda Wood Hoyt?
Linda Wood Hoyt was the youngest looking 70-year-old in history, you know.
Right? Right. Wait till she turns 80. She'll look the same. She hasn't aged at all. Let's talk about well,
nothing.
You broke up there for a second. Sorry. Let's talk about Aria Sophia, who won the men's physique. Did you see him?
Yeah.
Impressed?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Well deserved?
Yeah, I'd say well deserved, you know. I mean, it's funny, that class usually goes to, like, I mean, if you're in spectacular, you know, the best condition, you usually come out on top. I think this is like he announced this is the 5th time he's going to the Olympics qualified for.
Yeah, he's always in there. He's always in there. He's very consistent. I'm always reporting on him on a Muscle in the Morning too.
He gave a very good, genuine speech about making it back to the Olympia. You know, people like you throw a microphone in their faces. They say, you know, I would like to thank my sponsors and my parents and all my, you know, he was just pretty much overwhelmed that he came out the winner, and it came across a little speech which I don't think he was prepared to give, and you know, talked about being excited to go back to the Olympia for the 5th time, and the fact that, you know, this idea that he's no genetic freak in his mind, that he just
Mhm.
work, and has made it to win a show every year to get to the Olympia. And it just expands the idea of like, if I can conquer self-doubt and accomplish a goal like this with my body to make it to the Olympia, then I can accomplish anything. It was a really excellent impromptu speech, which made it, impressive, rather than some pre-planned packaged.
Right. It's nice when people can, are appreciative of where they are. Don't you think?
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
Great way of putting it. He knows, he's totally aware of the idea that I just won the show. I'm going back to the Olympia. People don't get to do that. It's a huge accomplishment, and at the same time, come across not he come across appreciative not because it sounds good, but because you actually are. It was a great speech. He probably don't think so. Right?
Well, I'm glad you do, though. That's important, right? I'm glad you do. Let's talk about women's bodybuilding, which they added to this event. Mila Ash winning that, looking pretty spectacular.
Yep.
I see that. I was trying to figure out what happened with New York Pro. Obviously, Steve Weinberg usually holds the New York Pro up in New York. Obviously, New York was a no-go. So they moved it to Tampa, which looks like Tim Gardner took it over almost. It was almost like Weinberg had passed it off to them. I don't know if that's the case or not. Steve wasn't there. I know that. Probably he didn't want to travel. I don't blame him. And somehow Tim got Wings of Strength involved with the event, and they added women's bodybuilding, obviously, which is good because they need qualifiers. They need to qualify some of these women for the Olympia, obviously. So Mila wins here. She qualifies for the Olympia. Obviously, I like to see rather than see like someone win by default. She's really good. I think it's a good representative of someone we're going to see on an Olympia stage, come December.
I agree with you. She's got good shape, which I spoke to Linda ironically about the change in the shift in bodies in female bodybuilding compared to
Right.
25. But she has good flow, good shape, and I think that's a huge prerequisite for doing really good in winning these pro shows, including going to the Olympics. You want to have people up there with good shape.
Yeah. And let's finish it off with Rachel Adams, who won the Rachel Daniels, who won the women's physique. And I really like her physique too. She was really pretty peeled. Who would have won in a contest between Rachel Daniels and Mila Ash?
Who do you think?
I don't know. You tell me. I wasn't there. Would have been close, right?
Yeah, it would have been close. Depends on what you like.
I'm trying to lay down my case for combining the divisions. I'm never going to let off that. They'll never do it, but I keep putting it out there and saying, just combine them. Call it Miss Olympia. Women's physique division, grand champion, Miss Olympia. Put them together. Just do it, guys.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we're kind of running out of time, and I know you're running out of steam. So we're gonna do another show on the North American Championships, and maybe you and I will do a show during the week, an analysis of a breakdown of that. We'll look at the pictures. We'll pull up some videos, stuff like that. It was such a humongous show. Gary Udit broke the bank on this one, and I don't know how he did it. He told me himself, because I didn't think there was going to be a big turnout. I think they got a bigger turnout than they've ever gotten. I think there was over 1,500 people there, Chris, competing this weekend. I think there was like 600 bikini competitors alone. Can you believe that?
I can believe.
Is that unreal?
It's crazy.
Who said bodybuilding? Who said that no one's competing? Obviously, with all the gyms that were closed, Chris, for like 6 months, it's amazing how many people were able to find a place to work out. Right?
Yeah.
Tells you the resourcefulness of people who train, right? We're crazy. We'll find a place anywhere to train.
Yeah. Everyone I know found a place to train, with the exception of maybe three or four people who moved or transitioned from a commercial gym to building their own gyms in their garages, and they
Right.
ended up, customizing their garages to the extent that they say, "God, this is great. I'm never going back to a gym."
You know what, Chris? I love the idea of going to the gym when I was competing. But the truth is, if I was, let's say you and I were in the era right now of this COVID thing, I mean, I would have spent every nickel I had to build the best gym, in my house that I could possibly do, because it was that important to me, at the time. It was like I wasn't saving money for to buy a house. The bodybuilding was way more important than I would have spent every penny, to get the equipment I needed. And you know what? I would have bought all free weight stuff at the time because I didn't care about machines. I mean, you don't really need machines. Machines are a luxury item, don't you think?
Of course.
If you have a power rack and you have a bench, you can do everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I always say? You can, with a flat bench and a bar and a couple sets of dumbbells, you can train all the body parts if you're creative.
Yeah. Look, I see these guys in jail training. the resourcefulness of what they do there, and these guys have unbelievable physiques. That when people cry to me that they don't have a cable crossover machine or they don't have a hammer strength chest machine, I laugh. I'm like, right? We're spoiled. We're spoiled. We're spoiled now. That's the truth. Look, if you're a bodybuilder in today's world with viruses closing stuff down, and now you know that they will quarantine and close gyms down, you better have backup in your house. You better get a set of heavy barbells and dumbbells and have them as backup, because unless you have someone who owns a gym, because otherwise you're gonna be screwed, the royal one. And it's too risky. If you're a top level bodybuilder, you got to have access to that. All right, Chris, when are you leaving? Tomorrow morning?
In a few hours. Maybe, let's see, it was 1. I leave here at 6:30.
Have you noticed that the travel was easier or harder with this whole COVID thing going on?
Oh, it was easier, but you leave the airport, Dave, and you get on a plane packed with people.
Really? Isn't that funny?
The plane lands. Sold out.
But so there's no separation then. There's no 6 feet separation on the plane.
No, 6 inches as normal. But when you get the stewardess says, now, hi, thank you for American Airlines for landing in Tampa. We're going to depart the plane row 1, then 2, then 3, so we can social distance on our way out. I mean,
meanwhile, you sit next to the person. Oh my God,
Dave! I was sneezing, and I was thinking, "Oh God, the people must be like aghast next to me, thinking this guy's sneezing."
Did you have a mask? Did you have to wear a mask?
I wore a mask. Everyone wore a mask on the plane.
It didn't look like anyone at the bodybuilding show was wearing a mask to me.
No, they don't like to wear masks.
Was anyone in the audience wearing a mask?
There were a lot of people in the audience wearing them. Yeah, there were people.
Not a lot, actually. Was there? Oh, there was a lot of people? Okay.
Well, there wasn't a lot of people in the audience, but of the people in the audience, surprisingly, a lot did wear masks.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I'll let you get a little sleep. Thank you for breaking down the New York Pro. Stay tuned later this week. We'll do the official wrap-up of the North American Championships and talk about all the great new pros that we have on the circuit. So for now, as we say every week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.